How's it going, guys? My name is MrHurriicane, and today I'm going to be recapping the Carolina Panthers franchise Season 2 offseason as we get ready for Season 3. This was the stream I did a few days ago. It's on my channel if you want to watch it in the long form, and the link to that is in the description below. The parts are 2 hours for the recap and the free agency parts, and then a little over an hour for the NFL draft, and a 20-minute recap of the draft while we look at ratings. So you can check those out if you like. And right now we're just going through the recap of Season 2, which I'm going to be doing as a separate video in the future. I'll recap it much better in a video, and once we get to the offseason, we don't want to worry about last year. We want to get to the draft. We always want to get to the draft. But of course, we're coming off of a 10-6 season. It was very up and down. The middle of the year was very shaky. And it became very clear that our needs were on the offensive line and in the secondary, where we had a bunch of veterans, including Roman Harper, Charles Woodson, and Charles Tillman. However, we did have a pretty good defense with that front seven still being the strength. On offense, we just did not protect Cam Newton well enough and didn't open up enough running lanes for our backs. We saw the Buccaneers and Saints both make the postseason, and the Saints went one and done on wildcard weekend after 3 interceptions from Drew Brees. They ended up losing to the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, the defending champions here in Season 2 were the New England Patriots, who knocked off the San Francisco 49ers in last year's Super Bowl. There will be no rematch as the Seahawks knock off San Francisco. The Eagles beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so thank you, Philadelphia, for taking care of the two teams that made the postseason within our division. However, they lost the NFC Championship game to the Seahawks, who will face the Patriots in the Super Bowl for Season 2. We will get to that in a moment, but first we have some scouting. Here is one of my favorite players all year. It was a 5th round prospect, Emilio Benjamin. He was a late round corner, and then here's an early round corner, Jordan Okafor, who had that ridiculous 102 production, and the more I scouted him, the more I realized that he was one of the best cornerbacks atop the class. I liked him, I liked Dontrell Miles and Emilio Benjamin, but I preferred Benjamin and Okafor to Miles, although I thought all would be very good additions to our team. One of the best players in this draft I thought was Delonte Moore, left tackle, with insane strength, pass block, and run blocking abilities, and we had a lot of needs on that offensive line. Now to the Super Bowl, where the Seahawks beat the Patriots 38-15 with 4 rushing touchdowns and over 200 yards from Marshawn Lynch and Christine Michael. So the Seahawks are the defending champions heading into Season 3. Going through retirements, we see guys like Peyton Manning, Charles Tillman, Eli Manning, Nick Hardwick. Some longtime veterans have retired from the league. And I did not plan on keeping Charles Tillman, but he does retire. Charles Woodson, however, has not retired as we enter the first period of free agency, where I try to re-sign as many players as I want to keep. One of the big ones, Carlton Sanders, a Pro Bowl kick returner last year, ended up getting a lot of XP for making the Pro Bowl. I've started to develop him into a more complete receiver, and I definitely wanted him to stick around, and he did accept a 4-year offer. Now to backup tackle who made the team as an undrafted free agent, I did want to keep Hugh Cunningham as a backup option. He did accept his contract. Then we go to Derek Anderson, who I am not looking to keep. I want a younger backup, in addition to Taj Boyd, who is also a free agent. Then we have Corey Brown, aka Philly Brown, who I did not want to keep around because of his lack of speed and route running ability. I like either one of those two traits in a receiver of mine. I also wanted to end negotiations with Brad Nortman, as I'm kind of being cheap and just don't want to sign a punter for $2 to $3 million a year. Roman Harper wants to make $3 million a year. I offered him a very low contract. He did not accept, to say the least. Now Lance Briggs, he was just a holdover until Thomas Davis came back. Negotiations end there. Now Antonio Gates, same deal, just a backup tight end for us last year. Didn't play too much. Did not want to re-sign him. Now to DeJuan Edwards, I did want to keep because he still has some ability, although I did want to get some younger depth along our defensive line. Another guy who made the team here is an undrafted player, Derek Sturdivant. I did want to keep him around as a backup safety. Fozzie Whitaker wants a 1-year, $800,000 contract. I love the way he finished the year. I did want to keep him, however, he did not accept the initial contract. So Fozzie Whitaker tests free agency. Now to Taj Boyd, who wants a little bit more than Fozzie. I do want to keep Taj Boyd around, and I offered him a $2 million 2-year contract, and that's a higher average per year than he wanted, but he still turned that down. Now to receiving tight end Brandon Williams, I did want to keep him around probably as the second tight end this year, and he accepted the 1-year contract. Now Brenton Burson, whom I want to have a chance at a roster spot, no guarantee, he also accepted. Titarius Beckwith, another undrafted player, I kept like 5 or 6 last year, and once again, he accepts the offer. Now Travell Wharton will get younger on the offensive line, it's a big priority in the draft definitely. Now Damian Jordan, I like these undrafted linebackers I have, I wanted to keep him around. There's Melvin White, whom I wanted to change his position, and I was still willing to keep him, so $2.3 million over 2 years, I was fine with that. Only a few left now, a lot of veterans. Kevin Williams, he's not going to stick around. D'Angelo Williams, it's been a great run with him as a Carolina Panther, however, it is time for us to part ways as we do not re-sign D'Angelo Williams. Running back was also an off-season priority. Roderick Moody, another backup linebacker. I want to see all these guys have a chance to play in the preseason one more time. However, Moody did not accept the contract, so that means Taj Boyd, Fozzie Whitaker, and Roderick Moody are all testing free agency. Charles Woodson I was considering keeping for 1 more year. I offered him less than he wanted, but he turned that offer down. We ended up having 27 free agents, so this section of the offseason did take a while. We now go to Josh Norman, who is 28 and wants a 3-year contract. I am okay with that. He had a good year outside of Week 17. However, Norman is also testing free agency. That's 4 players. Now to Mike Tolbert, who wants a 4-year contract, not a lot of money, but he is getting up in age. I offered him a deal, but he did not accept, but that franchise tag is pretty intriguing. Now to our 2 key free agents, 2 major players on this roster. Thomas Davis, he has been hurt, but he's very good when he's in the lineup. He wanted a little bit less than $5 million a year, but I offered him more than what he wanted. Now Greg Olsen, who wants a monstrous contract for a 31-year-old tight end, 6 years, $44.9 million. I ended up offering him 3 years, $23.1 million. Both Olsen and Davis accepted their contracts, so I was very happy to keep those 2 important players around. And then with the franchise tag still unused, I decided to franchise tag Mike Tolbert for $2.24 million for 1 season. That takes us to unrestricted free agency, where 4 of the players I wanted are testing. Taj Boyd, Fozzie Whitaker, Roderick Moody, and Josh Norman. And so we take a look at a few key positions of need, like running back. There's Matt Forte, who's available, but he is 30 years old. There are tackles like Riley Reef available, but you're going to have to outbid other teams. Cornerbacks, Stephon Gilmore is there, he wants big money. And Tramon Williams was one of the best veterans available. Nickel corner was a big need for us, and with Brandon Boykin being available, I was very interested. Before we offer a contract to Boykin, let's go back to Josh Norman, who now wants a 2-year contract for around $6.6 million a year, which is around twice the demands per year than he wanted initially. And so he did offer and outbid the New York Jets. And now we'll go back to Brandon Boykin, who wants around $4 million a season. I would offer a little bit more than that to become the highest bidding team, with the Saints and Cowboys also there. So 2 offers at corner. Let's go back to Taj Boyd. We offered him around $880, I thought, the first time around. We offered him $1 million this time. And then Fozzie Whitaker, we offered $822, trying to keep those 2 players. Now to a free agent from Denver, I offered a contract to Derek Wolfe, a backup defensive end, whom I would want as a backup to Charles Johnson. I talked about getting younger at defensive tackle as far as our depth goes, and I offered a contract to Devin Still to start doing that, who is coming off of his rookie contract. On the offensive line, now I offered a contract to Kyle Long, whom the Bears did not want to keep around, but I would be happy to pick him up and let him be either a starter and or good backup. Now we got some draft stock stuff going on, and the halfback I've been targeting as my #1 guy, Tyrus Hawkins, looks like an IQ test has his draft stock lowered a little bit, so keep an eye on that. We'll go back now to Roderick Moody, offer him a contract, and we jump back to scouting now. And I was looking for some more bargains late in the draft. I always like doing that, and we stumbled across this guy, Shaquille Ware from Villanova. Now we know Villanova is a good basketball school, and so immediately at 6'6", 244, that's what crossed my mind. He appears to have good hands, he can get down the field and or court, and he can also jump as you would expect. Good release, decent route running, Here's an intriguing prospect that's a 5th round projected player. Back to Derek Wolfe in free agency. I offered him a little bit more money because I really did want him. I targeted him prior to the offseason going through other teams' free agents. I also increased the bid for Brandon Boykin because there was some good competition. I ended up losing out on Brandon Boykin to the Texans, whom he thought were a better fit, but I ended up getting contracts accepted from Josh Norman, Roderick Moody, Devin Steele, Fozzie Whitaker, Taj Boyd, and Derek Wolfe. So all but one of my targets signed. We didn't go after many players. We were once again very conservative, and that's by design, as I have a lot of expiring contracts soon that are very key players. So I'm trying to save that money in that cap room and not get multi-year deals like what was given to Matt Forte for $6 million a year. Look at our division rivals. The Saints end up getting LaMarr Woodley and C.J. Spiller. The Buccaneers signed Nick Fairley last year, but this time around they're much more conservative and sign a bunch of backups. The Atlanta Falcons signed a couple potential starters in Philip Wheeler and Jeff Schwartz, also gave $4 million a year to Larry English. Now before we get to the NFL draft, I still wanted to make one more move potentially. I had 8 picks at that point, including 2 in the 3rd. I wanted to get another mid-round pick, and I was going to offer Mario Addison because we have Coney Ealy behind him, and with a lot of the good prospects I found in the middle of the draft, I would covet another mid-round pick. The Patriots had some interest in Mario Addison, but would not give up their top 3rd round pick they had acquired from another team. And so I offered, how about Addison and Amini Silatolu, who was not playing very well for us at all. The Patriots accepted that offer, and we gained an early 3rd round pick in the process. So now the NFL draft is upon us, 9 picks at this point, and number 1 on the clock. A player we're going to have to face twice this season. The Atlanta Falcons select Theo Russell, a pass rusher. The top-rated players in this draft were front 7 players, and that was one of the best. Axel Ajala goes number 3, and then the first quarterback off the board, Tate Farrell to Jacksonville, who could replace Blake Bortles. Top-rated player Tom Morris, defensive tackle, goes to Pittsburgh. And then the top corner, I did not want to see a corner go this early because I wanted one to fall to us later in the draft. The Cowboys also take a quarterback as Tony Romo's now a backup in Baltimore. This was a great quarterback class, and another one goes off the board at 14, Lucky Wallace to Tennessee. We get closer to our pick. A corner goes right ahead of us, not a player I had targeted. We are in a great spot here. The players I like the most are on the board. Tyrus Hawkins is there. His draft stock lowered all the way from early 1st round to early 2nd. I also liked a bunch of these corners, including Jordan Okafor. But I had an offer to trade down, and I accepted to gain another 2nd round pick, and so 10 picks in the draft. The Chiefs ended up taking Jordan Okafor, the top corner on my board. That wasn't ideal, but I couldn't have all those players anyway. The Buccaneers take a center right ahead of us, and so I end up taking at 28 overall the player I would have taken at 19 anyway. A very successful trade down as we select Delonte Moore, the top tackle I thought in this class. Right after us, Dontrell Miles goes to Philadelphia, so watch those corners. And then to open the 2nd round, the Atlanta Falcons take Tyrus Hawkins. I was not happy that I chose to not trade up and take a chance to get one of the top running backs in the class. Another running back I liked, Ace Kane, 1-2. Those running backs are gone just like that. Later in the 2nd, Heisman Trophy winner Mikhail McElroy goes to Miami. We go to our pick now in the 2nd round, and this time around, I did not select a trade down. With the corners going off the board that I liked, I ended up selecting one of my favorite available in Malik Carpenter, a 5'11 corner from Oregon. He is our 2nd selection. That was our first of 2 2nd round picks as we see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Mitchell Middlebrooks. I did like him, but not as much as Delonte Moore. And so here we go, 32 overall in the 2nd round. And I didn't have many 2nd round targets here, and so I took a player who fell and we had a chance to take, who could be a great player for us down the road, maybe not right away. Devontae Spears, outside linebacker. We're now 3 picks in, and 3 more picks now in the 3rd round. I like these guards, and they were the best available at this point, so don't worry about the projected round. They would likely go way higher anyway. Herman Gilmore we selected first, And then with the 10th overall selection in the 3rd round, I decided to fall back a little bit more to gain another 6th round pick because I liked a lot of those late round prospects. The player I wanted did not get taken. Another successful trade down. I already selected one guard, Herman Gilmore. Let's get the other one I like, Jazario Dorsey. These 3 lineman prospects were very good. And so we've addressed O-line with Delonte Moore, Herman Gilmore, and Jazario Dorsey. Now with our 3rd pick in the 3rd round, I wanted to trade down once again, gain another 6th round pick. A running back went ahead of us to New Orleans. We'll take a running back here. I ended up going with Jermichael Ivory, who was, I know, projected a 6th round pick. I was worried about a run on running backs just because we had a full 32 picks until our next selection, and I did like Ivory a lot. He was my 3rd running back on my board, so I took him. Now in the 4th round, we see Tavin Birch goes to Arizona. I did like him. The Falcons right ahead of us take Carlos Lauderdale, not a target of mine, but I did want to take another corner. Our 4th round pick is Emilio Benjamin, whom I thought was good enough to be either a 1st or 2nd round pick. So we'll see how he turns out, as I was very high on him. I had addressed offensive line, defensive back, and running back, and so now we could take some of those value players later in the draft. We're in the 5th round now. I'm waiting to see if we can get Shaquille Ware to drop. Delancey Tucker goes off the board as one of the best red zone threats available. And then we're getting closer to our pick, and Shaquille Ware goes to San Francisco. He was maybe the 6th or 7th best receiver left, but the top red zone threat. And I definitely dropped the ball by not trading up. We have 4 picks remaining, and with the 5th round pick, I ended up selecting Brandon Tucker, our 3rd cornerback selected, as I want to get as much competition there as possible. He was one of my favorite players overall left. Moving into the 6th round now, we have 3 picks here because of all my trade downs. And this right here is proof enough that I should have traded up, as I trade that 6 for a future 4 from Atlanta. And now with my remaining picks, I can take some intriguing prospects to our left. We are at my first 6th round pick. I'll make 2 selections here. And we'll take a defensive end from Lambeth, or Lambooth, I'm not sure. Martez Henry, who could be a nice pass rusher off the bench for us. Later in the 6th round, the Packers take the backup quarterback I was targeting, Vladimir Sutton. He was almost there. We make it to our 6th round pick at pick 25, and I end up selecting a receiver. I wanted to get one at some point, and I didn't know a lot about Akeem Hickson. I knew he had A speed and C route running, and I looked for that route running with those depth guys, and so I end up selecting him. We now make it to the 7th, and I thought about taking the punter I liked, but instead I draft running back Troy Knox, as I hoped the punter would go undrafted. And he did. And so we made 11 selections in this draft. You can see them all right here. Delonte Moore, Malik Carpenter, Devontae Spears, Herman Gilmore, Jazario Dorsey, Jermichael Ivory, Emilio Benjamin, Brandon Tucker, Martez Henry, Akeem Hickson, and Troy Knox. It ends up being 3 linemen, 1 linebacker, 3 corners, 2 running backs, a defensive end, and a wide receiver. We ended up checking out ratings, and the linemen appeared to be very good. The corners were also intriguing, however, were not as fast as I would have hoped. Carpenter and Benjamin both had speed in the high 80s, so we don't have a very fast secondary, but we did address major needs on the offensive line. Delonte Moore ended up being the highest rated player overall in the entire class, and I got him late first. Now, prior to preseason, I made some more undrafted signings, including Asa Parham, DeJuan Briscoe, Sylvester Sherman, Travis Stevens, Bernie Gates. I got the punter I wanted, Ben Fernandez. I wanted to see what Terry Swope could do. There's Connor Shaw. And I also picked up Alex Tanney. So 4 quarterbacks, they'll compete for 3 spots. And here is our preseason schedule. It is the Chiefs, Seahawks, Colts, and the Eagles, who knocked out our 2 division rivals out of the playoffs. And so that takes us to the preseason. As I get some equipment stuff squared away, I was reminded many times to fix the equipment of these rookies, which I did do that for both this year's and the guys I missed from last season. So here are some of our key rookies heading into Season 3 of the Carolina Panthers franchise. Overall, I did think we had a good offseason, but it could have been better in the draft. Had I been more aggressive, I mentioned I was willing to part ways with our first round pick next year, but I never attempted a trade up. I played it a little conservative. I allowed that running back Tyrus Hawkins to go to Atlanta. I missed out on Shaquille Ware. I didn't try to trade up for a guy like Jordan Okafor. I wish I had tried. But even with those potential missed opportunities, there's no guarantee a trade up would have been accepted. But I do like the 11 players I ended up drafting. We took some very good offensive linemen, some running backs who will compete, some corners who are very intriguing and have some size and coverage ability. And so I'm looking forward to Season 3, and we'll see all these players play in the preseason next time around. I'll recap all 4 preseason games and have you guys the highlights, and we'll get on to Season 3 very soon. Let me know what you thought of the offseason in the comment section below, and I will see you guys later in the Carolina Panthers franchise. Expect that preseason video in the next couple days. Probably by Thursday I'll be done with it. And so I'll see you then, and then Season 3 will open against the New Orleans Saints. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, comment below your thoughts, and subscribe for more Panthers franchise. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.